We're now in what's considered the lame duck session of Congress, the time in between the election and the elected starting their new jobs at the start of the year. It includes meetings to decide who will lead the political parties on Capitol Hill. And for years in the Senate, it's been longtime Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell calling the shots for Republicans. But after a lack of a red wave and a second consecutive loss of a Senate majority for the GOP, we saw a bit of a Capitol shakeup, including calls building for someone else to take over as minority leader. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley has been very vocal about this.
People aren't satisfied with the status quo. They don't want business as usual. They don't want the same old stuff out of D.C. It's not working. It's not working for anybody. And I hope that Republicans in D.C. will hear that message. We'll see.
Regardless of the angst within the party and even a challenge, Senate Republicans did re-elect McConnell as leader last week, though Senator Hawley points out several senators didn't vote for him. So what does this mean for the Republican Party and our congressional delegation as we look ahead to the new Congress? Let's discuss with KMBC9 political reporter Michael Mahoney. Welcome back. You spoke with Senator Hawley last week. He seemed to think that Republicans did make a statement in that leadership vote, even though it didn't go the way he wanted.
It was really interesting. It was a 37-10 vote. Hawley was one of the 10 votes not for McConnell on that. That's an exceptionally high number for a leadership election like that. But he has been very critical of McConnell, as you said, for quite a while. Hawley believes that they screwed up the message and that they should have concentrated on crime and they should have concentrated on immigration and less regulation of big tech, that sort of thing. Those were all, however, things, Cody, that especially the House Republicans ran on, including immigration. That was another one that Hawley mentioned, as well as the economy. So he wants to see a much more nationalist and a little bit more isolationist approach from the Republicans.
He was calling out what he called D.C. or Washington Republicans, right? He's been in D.C., though, for nearly 4 years now. So where is he pointing with that, you think?
Well, he thinks that the Republicans in D.C., that the Republican National Party in D.C. is dead, ought to be buried, and they ought to build something back up differently than that. And that's why he voted against McConnell. That's why another very prominent Republican, Lindsey Graham out of South Carolina, did the same thing, and that raised some eyebrows too.
Yeah, and it was interesting hearing Leader McConnell have a rare moment of introspection where he was talking about there was too much chaos and too much negativity on the part of Republicans. You know, voters shot down a lot of candidates, right, who kind of stoked the flames of partisanship this past election. And, you know, having polarized politics, of course, isn't a national issue. Let's look at Kansas, right, where Governor Laura Kelly won another term. Here's what she said about this on election night.
Everyone is tired of the hyper-partisanship and vitriol in our politics. And everyone is tired of being at each other's throats.
Now, Governor Kelly has talked to us here on the program about legislative roadblocks. It looks like she's going to have to navigate a few, battling supermajorities now in the House and the Senate.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially on the Medicaid expansion issue in Kansas, which is sure to come up again. Kelly has indicated that it's going to be one of the first things she asks the legislature for when they go back into session. She believes that now that she is going to be off the ballot, she's in a second term, she won't be running ever again, that there may be a better shot at this because the Republican majorities in the House and the Senate over in Topeka won't have to try to feel like they have to pin a defeat on her on Medicaid expansion, or for that matter on the grocery tax, which is phased out. And Kelly wants to come back and say, let's not phase this out any longer. Let's go to a right now elimination of that 6.5% tax.
Do you think they do that, though? Do you think they pass that forward?
It's hard to say. The grocery tax would be a popular thing for the Republican legislature to do. They've done it one other time back in 2019, but that got thrown into another set of bills that Kelly vetoed at the time. It'll be one of the first battlegrounds in January for sure.
I know politics is always perennially the game about who gets the win, right? How do you
zero-sum game? Yeah.
Right. How do you push forward now after what you saw on November 8th?
I think that both federally and in Missouri and in Kansas, voters are going to want something to get done. The problem is federally, there's going to be a Republican House and a Democratic Senate that generally doesn't lead to much in terms of significant legislation going through. The Republicans in both Kansas and Missouri have super majorities. In Missouri, they've got a Republican governor that they can play ball with. We'll see how it goes in Kansas with a Democratic governor and a Republican legislature.
Real quick, anything that's catching your eye in Jeff City for next year?
Not right now. What's really interesting is this little debate going on about whether or not libraries can get their choice of state money, providing that they take a look and put some restrictions on books that some people feel are inappropriate for youngsters.
All right, well, we'll leave it there for today. A lot to talk about, a lot to watch. Michael Mahoney, thank you so much. Stay with KMBC 9 News. We are watching how the future of politics is now shaping up as lawmakers prepare to start new sessions here at home and on Capitol Hill. Look for coverage on air and online at KMBC.com.